Poquito, Poquito podcast. Poquito, Poquito, Poquito podcast. Poquito, Poquito, Poquito podcast. Poquito, Poquito, Poquito podcast. Poquito, Poquito.
Hello, I'm Ryan Reyes.
And I'm Dominic Angel.
And together we are Un Poquito.
Podcast.
Un Poquito podcast, exploring Latino culture little by little.
Thank you all for being here. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you follow, like, hit the bell icon, leave a comment. Comments make you sexy.
Watch to the end.
Yeah, watch to the end. Follow us. Oh, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you follow us. Leave a review. 5 stars, please.
Like us, rate and review.
Like us, rate and review. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. I keep forgetting that one. At Un Poquito Pod. And send us an email. unpoquitopod@gmail.com. Ryan reads all the emails. I read some of them.
Also, if you're looking to support us, we have a Patreon, several wonderful tiers, a lot of good stuff on there. And you can join our Discord for free.
It's blowing up. Josh, the American, is he's integral to the Discord right now. By this time, he's set up a Minecraft server. Join, all right? Join the army. America first. We have a guest. Another in our string of guests. I'm very excited about this week's guest. I found you on TikTok. We became friends through TikTok.
That's right.
And I just instantly, okay, we're all out of breath right now because we just had a really long day. But I want to say this. I saw you on TikTok. I saw your Jam in the Van on TikTok. And I was like instantly like, oh shit, this is dope. I don't even remember the song you played, but you screamed. You're like, and then I was like, I'm going to check this fool out. Because it said your hashtags were fat, Chicano, vegan.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I got to see what this fool's about. I went on your YouTube. And then the first video was Call Me on the Phone. And it was totally different from your Jam in the Van. And then I was like, holy shit, this dude is a fucking genius. And from that day on, I was dedicated to the Church of Dante Elephante.
Ooh, yeah. Hey.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. Yeah, that TikTok, I don't know what was so special about that one, but that was the one that did numbers.
Really?
And I don't know why, and there is no rhyme or reason on that platform. But that one did numbers, yeah. And like I'm friends with you and a bunch of other random TikTok famous people on there because it all popped up in their feeds as well.
Yeah.
So I have these random followers from like, why is that? You know the guy who does like food reviews?
Which guy?
Oh, he has that voice, and they use his voice a lot. Like on Monday we do this.
Oh, St. Johnson.
Johnson, he follows me too because of that video. It's so weird.
That's crazy. That dude. I commented on one of his videos because he said that waffles are trash.
Yeah,
and I was like,
I do have an issue with that.
Bro, you got to get the fuck out of here. I was like, that was his first miss.
Waffles are good. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. One, he has some other funny kind of things that he loves that I'm like, oh, that place is nasty. But yeah,
I don't know.
But he's got good taste buds overall.
I mean, he's got more followers than any of us, so he's doing something right. Maybe it is the waffles that's ruining it for me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, what a day we've had.
Oh yeah,
you've been hanging out with us, and it's been very cool. You came all the way from Santa Barbara.
Yeah, Santa Barbara, man. It was originally a 2-hour drive that turned into like a 3-hour drive, which I wasn't expecting, but it was worth it. It was really great. The people will see what happens, but yeah, great episodes.
Yeah. You guys will find out on Tuesday what all the hype is about. But no, it was cool. I mean, we met before. First of all, if anyone's a fan of Isimo, if you saw the Chris Estrada shirt where I was wearing a shirt that did not fit me anymore, when I bought it, it fit perfectly. And my Dante Elephante called me on the phone shirt.
Yeah, don't tell me it shrunk in the...
No, I grew. The thing is, The problem with like wearing tight shirts is that when I look in the mirror and I'm standing straight up, they always kind of look like, oh, okay, it's form fitting, but it looks okay. And then when I sit down, it's like, oh, you should reconsider a few things in your week.
Yeah, I've been like thinking about like, damn, do I go to 3X or do I just start like working out? Like, do I go up to that next pant level or do I start working out? I don't know.
Ryan, do you have anything to say about this? No. Well, first of all, I'm all into spiritualism and shit.
Sure.
So you start learning the whole mantra of like, you are not your body.
Yeah.
And that helps like get rid of a lot of like, insecurities. And then the other thing, well, a couple of things. One, people find me attractive, and so at a certain point you have to be like, yo, you're fine. Like it's kind of not that, I don't know, is this making sense? Like you got to stop being so hard on yourself because you're fine the way you are. Yeah.
That reminded me of this joke I heard. Your body is a temple, and this temple worships pizza.
Well, that was the other thing that I heard. Somebody was he was like a fitness person on TikTok, and he said fat is not failure, it is function. And he like went on to explain that like, yeah, if you don't have like abs and all these muscles, like your body is a reflection of what you enjoy. So if you like to like watch TV and eat snacks, like that's kind of what your body does. He did it in a very positive way. Like, and so I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Like I don't value certain things, and this is who I am.
I think that's like a big reason why I put that in my bio, because being my size and being a musician does have its challenges, and I just wanted to like take that away from people, because like when you hop on stage and everyone's like, oh my god, like it's just like, hey, I'm telling you I'm fat. You don't need to like say it in a comment or anything. I'll tell you, and like it will be in my bio and it will be advertised that I am who I am, and that was a big reason why I put that on there too. Yeah.
Hell yeah, very aware.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, what I was gonna mention, we were talking before the episode started about like the previous show you guys were on, right. And if I ever saw any like bump from that, and it's funny, I started working at this company called Seymour Duncan. We make guitar pickups, and one of the dudes who worked in the warehouse was a fan.
Oh,
so
no
he
way.
like hit me up on Microsoft Teams. He's like, yo, how do you know these guys? Like, they know you. Like, I just found out about them. Shout out to Jesus. He's like, I just found out about them on TikTok. They are so funny, blah, blah, blah. And he's wearing your shirt. I was like, oh, that's cool. I was like, yeah, they're awesome. I met him at a show and blah, blah, blah. But like, yeah, so I did feel the bump at my job, of all places.
Yeah. I mean, that's where you want it, right?
I just realized where you wear that shirt the first time. It was the infamous mustard clip.
Dude, you don't have to fucking stain this memory, all right? We've gone long enough without bringing up mustard. Dude, this shit will not fucking leave me, man. It's like a reflex now. Somebody just says mustard, I'm like, pull out my knife. But that's so funny. I was so embarrassed after I met you the first time, because this is what happened. I was like, first of all, I was like super stoked. You're playing the Echo. And I was like, hell yeah, dude, I'm gonna fucking go see this dude. It's gonna be a great time. Whenever I go to shows, do you do this? Whenever I go to a show, I always buy 2 tickets. And I know the thing, like people are like, you just go by yourself, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm always like, not because I don't want to go I've been to shows by myself, but I always try to buy 2 tickets, so that way if somebody wants to come, I'll bring it. So I brought one of my friends who is a good drinker, and he can hold himself really well.
Right.
So we were hanging out, and I was like, oh, if he's okay, then I'm okay, because he's smaller than I am. I don't know if you remember him.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
but if I saw their face, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, he's smaller than us. So I was like, oh, if he's okay, I'll be okay. And so I just like kept matching him. And then by the time I ran into you, you were like standing in front of me on the side of the stage. And then you turned around and I was like, oh shit. And then I like went right up to you and I was like hugging. And then I saw in your face a moment of like something like, and then as soon as I saw like the change in your face, because you said hi to me, like we recognized each other. And then I saw this change in your face when I went in for the hug. And then I was like, oh, right. I don't know this guy. We've never met before. And so I was like, ugh.
No, that's exactly, we were talking about this earlier, but like, absolutely. Like I say hi, I'm very friendly to everyone. But then when someone comes in for a hug, I'm like, oh, wait, how well do I know this person right now? And then you went for the hug and they all kind of clicked. I was like, oh yeah, TikTok, the podcast. Okay. Stand up. Yes. And then you kept popping up in my FYP as well. And then I was like, okay, they're related. Okay. Now I'm figuring it all out. But it took me a little second to figure out what it was.
That's why I have the rule. I don't like hugs.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
No.
this is just no hugs rule. He makes it very, very well established rule. But yeah, like, so we're here. It was kind of like, I felt like it's kind of kismet because when we started Isimo, that's when I found out about you. So I feel like we were part of this like weird like renaissance on TikTok of like all of these creators, specifically like Latino creators and artists. And so like how, you know, you have the hashtags, but like how much of that goes into like your like art style?
Oh man, yeah. So this is something like, you know, I had this dude in town in Santa Barbara who I've known for years, like try and get on my fucking case about like not doing enough in the community or whatever. And it's taken me a lot to like really put that forward in my music. Like at first I was like, I just want to make good music for everyone. And then I started touring a lot more and I would go to these random towns, Boise, that's a pretty big town, but like random to me at the time, which I love Boise now, and like all these different places in the Carolinas, and I'd find Mexicans there, and they'd be like, dude, you don't understand what it means to see you up there. And then that's when it started clicking. Oh, and then I put Chicano on my bio because I know that meant something to people and it meant something to me. But it didn't take until touring and going to these places, you know, in California, like most of my students, like I was in school with, were Mexican. Like I had very little white people in my classes. And so I just assumed, yeah, this is just how life is. And then you go outside of California, as soon as you pass Houston, really, and you just don't see any Mexicans until you make your loop back to Chicago.
Right.
And I found that representation was super, super important. So, you know, how that connects with TikTok, I don't really know, but that's how I came to terms with it and like started promoting that side of myself a lot more. Before it was just like, I just want to be a good band, and how do we write good songs, and like how do we get noticed, how do we get signed, how do we do these things, how do I tour, you know. But it was great to find like a little community on TikTok, like you guys and a few other people who have followed me, and I think it's great. I think being Mexican and being in a band is way more accepted than before. Like I had another TikTok do some good numbers, not as much as the other one, and like a bunch of people were tagging like Omar Apollo, like, hey, listen to this.
Oh shit.
Nothing ever came from that, but that's good enough for me. Like, hey,
Right.
you know, people were tagging them. I didn't have to ask anybody to do anything, and that's why I like that platform so much.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool. That's what that was one of the things that I really enjoyed about it. And actually, so you know the clip where I'm like, oh, if you're brown and you like anything,
Yeah.
that clip where I was like, just support. I was listening to Modern Romance when I had that thought originally. I was driving around, and so I was listening to Dante Elephante when I was like, man, there's just so much fucking good art out there that like is made by like Latinos that I feel like I never really embraced. And it was just like, it's kind of good to know that whatever you enjoy, there's somebody that like there's somebody that's crushing it that is
totally.
like part of your community.
Yeah, and I was like told on like my first, you know, I don't know, by that same person who always was getting on my ass for no reason, that I wasn't doing enough, and that the music I played was white people music and all that other shit. And it was just, I don't know, I just wanted to write good songs. That was it. Like, I didn't think about it that way. Yeah.
That's the thing. I feel like because we're around the same age,
Yeah.
and so I feel like we probably had a similar thing where you liked like white stuff,
Right.
you know, and I had a conversation with my friend about that, where it's like now we're at the age where we're making this stuff that was it's influenced by a lot of like quote unquote white
Right.
stuff, but now it's us doing it, and it's, you know, it's Latino art.
It's our own, yeah.
Yeah, because that's the shit that you like. And now the fact that you enjoy something means that somebody is making art for you, kind of a thing. Because
Totally.
yeah, it's like
Making it a little bit more accessible.
yeah,
It's like, oh, okay, I may have, I like these bands, but here's him, and he looks a little bit more like me. Then I feel a little bit like, oh, maybe I'm not an outsider because I love the Strokes, and that I love like all those kind of white bands, whatever it is. But yeah,
So how long have you been playing music?
man, I started playing drums. I started playing drums first when I was 12, and then I taught myself guitar when I was 15, and then keys when I was like 18. And I started singing when I was like 14, but I was terrible. And I was in a band with my cousins. I was in a band with all my cousins and my uncle. My uncle is only a year older than me. One of those things.
I have one of those.
Yeah. My uncle Jose. And yeah, we just played a bunch, and I couldn't sing. And I just got better and better. And I started Dante Elephante when I was 20. I'm 32 now. So it's
Damn.
kind of crazy. Yeah.
Have you seen like I mean, because you're touring a lot.
Yeah.
You're like, do you consider yourself like you're a professional musician now? Like,
Yeah, like it's weird. That word professional, what does it mean? Like it means I'm paying the band. I don't pay myself, but I also still have like a full-time job that I work from home from.
right.
So I have that luxury of being able to tour because I do work in like a music industry type job, which is more on the product side, but like that gives me the flexibility to be like, dude, yeah, they're just like, you should tour, like tour all you want. Like this is our whole brand is touring, like touring artists. So I'm lucky in that sense. So I do get to pay the band, but also learning how to run it like a business and how do we scale it up a little bit more and so everyone can eat and like pay their rent. Like that's the goal right now.
Buy modern
Yeah.
mid-century.
Mid-century
I said
modern
modern
rom-
romance. Mid-century modern romance. No, that's fucking sick. Because it's like I'm always surprised because I've been wanting to reach out to you for a long time, and it seems like whenever I'm like, okay, I'll reach out. Now's a good time. I'll look, and you're on tour.
I know.
And then I'm like, okay, I'll just wait for him to come back.
Yeah.
And then like you do your leg, and then you come back, and I'm like, okay, now I'll reach out to him, and then like boom, another tour.
I
announced.
know. This last year has been really crazy with touring. I guess that's like the blessing and the curse. Like the record was received really well, and it's a fun record, so we get a lot more opportunities than I used to in the past. But yeah, it's awesome. I love touring. I think it's really fun. I think it's physically takes a toll and mentally takes a toll. That I'm glad I am not on the road. And but dates are already lining up for next year. I'm like in March already. So
Dang.
So like I'm here now, but mentally I am in March. Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, that's a
know.
good place to be. I feel like there's a thing, the 10,000 hours rule. Like there's a whole thing about like, it's very similar in comedy with like a lot of people don't not make it, but they don't like start actually working, like getting paid until they're like 10 years in.
Yeah, and I'm definitely experiencing that. Like, I started in 2010, but didn't release anything until 2012. Didn't really like put anything out officially. We did like a tape with Lollipop in 2013, and that's when like the whole LA garage scene started taking over.
Right.
And then that's how we got in, because before that we were playing the Roxy pay to play, Whiskey a Go Go pay to play. We didn't know how to break in LA, didn't know how to get any shows in LA. So when the Lollipop thing came around, we were playing LA all the time, and it was awesome. And yeah, I don't know.
That was a big boom. I'm surprised that I wasn't like before I started doing comedy and all this other stuff. Like I wanted to be a filmmaker, but I used to go to like a lot of DIY shows. I was like kind of like hanging out with like local musicians.
Right.
So I started to see a lot of people coming out of Lollipop and Burger Records.
Right.
And like we were talking about, we were friends with the Commons before they became Tropa Mágica. And me and Art, or my studio mate, the one you met earlier, we used to have a spot in Covina called the Up and Up, where like we had a bunch of Art's thing was like he is like over like the burger aesthetic, the whole garage, like
we were never cool enough to be with Burger. That's why we were like with Lollipop, and Lollipop liked us because we were just a little bit more pop than just straight up garage. But it always felt like when we did Burger gigs, we were never like cool enough.
That whole scene just kind of had their whole head up their ass.
God, yeah. It was I don't know. It's something I'm glad is gone. And yeah. I've also talked about this on my podcast a little bit, but like there is no like music scene anymore in my eyes. You know, New York in the early 2000s, Seattle in the 90s. It's just the internet now. It's just Spotify.
Right.
It's one big scene. It's like all these bands who are getting put on the same playlist. They end up all touring together. It's still very clicky, but like that is the scene now, is the internet. If you can grind on the internet, this is why I tell bands all the time, just grind on the internet. And then when time comes, you can tour. But like, you don't know how many bands I've talked to on my podcast about like just getting on TikTok and like, well, that's not really for us. It's like, dude, it's a music app. In its essence, it was a music app where people dance to music.
Well, first of all, before I go on to that, Ryan was the guy that, like in our comedy group, he was on TikTok doing not really. Well, do you want to talk about?
Well, so I saw that Musical.ly had become TikTok, and I saw that it was starting to grow a little bit more. And I used to be on Vine. I'm like, it's gonna be like Vine, and I never thought it'd be like a good like door into anything else, but it's a good window. You know, it's a fast way to get multiple people to watch like 60 seconds of you. So I started it honestly in like December of 2019. Because I had started planning shows between January and March, and I was gonna like put up clips and stuff, and then COVID happened. So it was like I was like the first of our group to have it, but it was still like I was still seeing people on it, people who had done specials right before COVID, and like reminding people that they are still out there. Yeah. And so I would like urge people to join it, and at first nobody wanted to join it, and then I think the end of 2020, like the beginning of 2021, I had started to post my clips, and they started getting like mild traction. And then I posted one of my like most popular jokes of the time, and it blew up. It hit 3 million in under a month. And then I wouldn't say I'm the reason that my group, but like when people started seeing like that you could get popular, you know, other comedians, networks started making their own profiles, like celebrities started making TikToks because everyone was bored. And so like then everyone started getting their own and realizing like, yeah, if you put some effort into it, it does have some like promotional value.
Oh, absolutely.
And I was telling musicians, I was talking to friends that were bands, that are bands, about going on TikTok, and they're like, I don't know, and I was like, I showed them, I pulled out my phone, pulled out the app, and I was like, your music is already on the app.
Absolutely.
Like you could be doing stuff, like it's already there because you're on Spotify. So like there's already stuff that you could be doing, like just fucking try it, figure it out, post stuff. And it's still like people dragging their feet. I feel like now that it's blown up so much, people are like kind of intimidated by it a little bit, because now it's like, oh, you gotta have your hook, you gotta have your thing.
Yeah, and it's like I don't think you need a hook, but it's like if you have something you're trying to do, every community has a place on TikTok already.
That's the thing, yeah.
Like there's woodworking TikTok, there's like goth TikTok, it's all over the place.
There's woodworking goth TikTok.
You'd be surprised. They make like it's like cosplaying goths who are into woodworking make armor.
So Santa Barbara, is that like there's a big Latino community out there?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's like It's tough. Santa Barbara's a weird place. It's a lot of old money and then people trying to survive.
I can see that.
Like, there is no in between. The middle class is just like everyone's trying to survive. Like, I tell people how much I'm paying for rent in like other places. They're just like, why are you doing that? Like, I got a deal. I'm paying $2,045 for a 1-bedroom, and people are like, what? Like, and that's a deal.
Crazy.
That's a deal for me. Like,
Yeah.
everything's $3,000 in Santa Barbara and up right now.
That's wild.
It's crazy. And there's a lot of Latinos. I grew up on the west side of Santa Barbara, the east side of Santa Barbara. And like I said, most of my classmates were Mexican, and yeah, it was great.
One of the things that cemented like my love for Dante Elephante was like you posting your cover of Game of Love.
yeah.
Dude. Such a fucking, first of all, song is a banger.
Yeah, I love that track.
And then you put out the cover. When I saw your promo for it, I was like, no fucking way. And then I watched the whole video. I think if you go to the YouTube, there's like a comment. I left a comment.
Oh,
like,
you did?
Yeah. But no, it's just
I did that in the lockdown.
right.
On my iPad, and then I grabbed my one camera at the time, and I just like shot it by myself at the beach on that cliff. And I just did it all by myself because I was bored.
That's fucking sick. It's just like one of those things. The reason why I loved it so much is because it's like the universal experience of like, oh shit. Like, I mean, obviously Santana's like popular music, but it's like that thing of like, you don't, when something clicks of like, oh, we all like kind of grew up similarly. Like we all listened to we're part of like I'm sure your parents played that music like all the time. And when I was a kid, I was like, this song kind of sucks. And then now I get older,
like, oh, it's good.
and it was like, oh, this is actually a fucking banger, dude.
He would also play like the Santa Barbara Bowl like every year.
Oh, for
like
real?
Santana would always come to Santa Barbara. Like that's like a great market for him, great city for him. Yeah. That song's great. I love Greg Alexander, a big New Radicals fan. And he wrote that track, and yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things. I was like, I sent it to the label who put out my last record. I was like, this is kind of funny. And they're like, we should put this out. I was like, I don't know how that works. Just you handle that. I don't know if I'm supposed to get credit to Greg Alexander or who I'm supposed to give credit to, but yeah, Michelle Branch is in the news too. So I was like,
oh yeah,
sketchy stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know the thing about her husband.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I only know about like the initial like thing.
Don't know any of the truth. Just that headline. That's it, really.
Yeah. That shit's wild.
I was gonna ask you a question, and both of you a question, I guess. When you do post, like you said, you put like your funniest bit up on TikTok, and it got like millions of views. Is that burned now? Can you still do it live?
No, I mean, because it's a complicated thing because from what I understand, because I grew up in social media. Mm-hmm. I'm a younger millennial. From what I understood is like you would work on it until you could get like an hour's worth, do an album, and then you'd burn that. And it's a little complicated, obviously with it going viral, people know the joke, but it's also the internet, so it's very passive. Like it hasn't maintained that kind of like viral, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not like it went viral, but it's not like internet famous, you know what I mean?
That's the thing. I feel like so like the thing used to be the reason why you see a lot of like Andrew Schultz like blew up because of his crowd work, and like what's the guy that has the speech impediment?
Drew Lynch.
You see it's a thing with comics where like if you post you playing a song, like it's not going to be like, oh, now I can't play that song live. Totally. Like people will go to request that song, but for social media before TikTok, before Vine, it was like, oh, you can't post your set on YouTube because now people won't want to come because they've already heard that joke. What's interesting, what I have found is that now with like attention spans, like two things happen is that people forget that you have that joke. So like it doesn't really ever get burned, and a lot of times people will want that joke. Now, I mean, it was like in one of Fluffy's specials, at the end of it, people are shouting back his catchphrase or his
like
punchlines to him.
He tells a story that he every show he ends it with I think the cop story, the donut story.
Yeah.
And everyone's just quoting it with him.
Which is crazy to me, but I feel like I had posted like I have one tape of like in fucking 7 years of comedy, I have one tape. So I posted that on YouTube, and that tape is what I was using on TikTok for a few months of just like posting clips, cutting it down into like minute videos, and the two things that happened were like, one, like somebody left a comment on the video like, oh, it's so cool to see the all-in-one set, like, and then also people came to see me on the shows and I'm like, oh, like I'm glad like you told this joke or you told that joke. So it's like, it's weird because I feel like the material doesn't really get burned as much. Maybe when you're it's different because I'm not putting out a special.
Yeah.
So somebody like, you know, Sam Morrill, if he was to post his clips on TikTok before he released the special, and then he releases the special and everybody's like, we've seen this already.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
You know, I feel like that's the difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's been pretty chill of like, I don't ever worry about burning material.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do it to test out if a joke is good. I mean, people used to do that on Twitter, you know?
Totally, yeah.
Like post jokes and then tell it on stage.
Oh, the early days of Twitter were the best.
I didn't get into it.
Oh, really? Oh, I've been, if you look on my Twitter, I think
like,
I've been on Twitter since like 2010 or 29 or 09 or something like that. And it was a wild place, man. It still is kind of a wild place, but
like more in a scary way. I heard it was less aggressive back then.
less aggressive. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's great. I've always wondered that because I get the whole like putting out a special and then it's burned and you can't really use it again because it is kind of hard unless you're like Bert Kreischer and you can tell the machine over and over again. Right. Or Fluffy. Like I would love to hear that joke live. And it's kind of crazy when a joke is so it hits that level of like, oh, you can just hear that shit over and over and over again. Because I think there's so many overlaps between comedy and music, but then there's so many glaring, like I can play the same song over and over again. You can't do the same joke over and over and over again in front of like, you know, the same audience. And the paying stuff, I know there's kind of like weird payment stuff in the comedy scene. And I don't know, there's just so many, and bands certainly aren't getting paid a lot, especially we were talking about that. Opening bands really getting nothing.
Getting shafted.
All the time. And it's just like commonplace. It's just like, what do you mean? You're the opener. You're only supposed to make $200. Like, split that between the four of you. You're good. Like
that stuff is. I mean, well, imagine splitting with four people. Like the ideas for comics is like, oh, here's $20. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's different for like if somebody's taking you on the road, you'll probably make like $100-$200, and then that's cool. But yeah, it's like at a regular show. Of like going to like perform at some bar show, it's like you're lucky if you get $15.
Yeah,
you know.
And that's the other thing, you guys. We don't have like an ecosystem like the open mic. There are open mics for music, but it's usually just like people.
It's usually not good.
It's usually pretty weird. Like they're not bands. They're just like a dude with a guitar, which is great.
Yeah.
We love a dude with a guitar, but we don't have that place to work out new songs. So it's like you just gotta do it at the show, I guess.
What's interesting is like we complain about the opposite for comedy of like I don't get to practice in private.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, whereas like the thing about doing comedy is you have to practice in front of an audience. That's why we always like people will want to see us like come to open mics to like see us, and we're like, no, don't come to that. Like that's not good.
Yeah, like when our first, I don't know, 2-3 years for it, like every time my mom could make it, she would bring as many people as she could. And it's like, Mom, this is practice. Like, invite them to the show so that one, I make money, but two, like they could see the best version of it.
Yeah. It is always like it. I mean, what a problem to have having a supportive mother.
God forbid.
I love you for real.
No,
Did you were your
Oh,
parents
yeah.
supportive of you like making music?
My mother is very supportive. My dad, not so much. But my mother was always, always down and always like follow your dreams. But now she's kind of like, how long are you gonna keep touring? That's kind of like the conversation we've been having lately. Like, you should have a kid. I'm like, I guess I should have a kid, but then I gotta hit the road, and then and that whole conversation really stresses me out. And then my dad is very sweet. Like I text him a picture of the last guest who was here. No surprises, no spoilers, and all he said was cool, and he loves him.
That's crazy.
He loves him, and all he said. But that's just how my dad texts. Very short.
At Chatterbox, Martin Moreno was a headliner. And Ryan took a picture with him. Martin Moreno, for people that don't know, is
Martin.
Fluffy's homie. And so it was so funny because he took a picture and it was like, oh, you got to send this to like the whole family. And they were like, cool, who is it? And we're like, you guys are the fans, like
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my god.
My mom
yeah.
knew though. She was like, "You should post it on Instagram." I'm not gonna post. No,
This is for you guys.
for you.
Don't post this shit.
Yeah. No, it was good. I don't want to say like I don't want to make it sound like my dad was like super against it, but like there's like a lot of times taking me to drum lessons. Like, how long are we gonna keep doing this? I'm like, I don't know until I'm
it's like
good at
sometimes-
drums. Like I don't know. Like,
Until I'm good.
until I'm good.
I get it. It's like sometimes it's hard for them to just understand the concept of like giving for art.
Right.
Like the guest we had this morning, we did a thing of like a meet and greet of just like this guy wants to interact with us. Like,
Martin Amini.
yeah. Like this guy is contemplating like working with us on something. And so in order to establish that relationship, he wants to meet us. But what my dad heard was, so you're going to go to his house and do what? Hang out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's like hard,
So I had
it's
to
a
keep-
hard sell.
Yeah,
of,
it's like,
Yeah, to keep like getting him on point, I kept to get him on board with it. I kept referring it to it as an appointment and a meeting, and he's like, "Okay,
yeah,
It's a meeting,
It's it's not a lunch date. It's a meeting.
yeah."
It's a general.
The biggest thing my dad and my grandpa both are carpet cleaners. It's like a family business. And for years he's like, you should buy a van. I was like, yeah, to go tour. He's like, no, we'll put a machine in there. You'll start your own carpet cleaning company. Because my dad was born in Mexico,
Right.
And so he's very much like that immigrant mentality. Where I would say my mother is a little bit more assimilated as well. So
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Is she
yeah.
from the United States?
yeah, my mom was born in Santa Barbara. My grandmother was born in Santa Barbara, but then her grandparents, my great grandparents, were born in Mexico,
Okay.
and my grandpa was born in Mexico. So it's kind of like I have tastes, like little bits of like third generation, first generation. Like I get a little bit of all that. But yeah.
When I was in high school, just graduating high school, I had a friend named Caesar, and his dad used to rag on me all the time for not speaking Spanish.
Yeah.
But he was from Mexico, and so I remember one time Caesar we started a big debate of like, do you see yourself as Mexican or see yourself as American? Because he had asked like first, second, and third generation, and so it's like by that what are we?
I think we were technically like third, kind of fourth.
I always
like-
consider
yeah.
myself third generation.
I think we're at least third. Yeah.
Oh no, we were second, right? I had considered myself second generation, and it was like there's this whole conversation about first generations are more in line with the homeland,
Right.
wherever they're from, and then by the third generation is like, oh, I'm just American, like So the second generation, which is like us, was like has this identity crisis of like, I'm not Mexican or American. I'm an individual. I'm just myself. That's like what I was dealing with for like years until we started Isimo.
Part of the human race.
I'm part of the
Part of the
human,
human race.
Yeah.
Citizen of the world.
I think that's just something everyone kind of has to go through, especially when you're living in California or living in America, and like there's the pressure to be both. It's like that Selena. It's like literally that
Ooh.
driving scene in Selena where it's like you have to be Mexican enough for the Mexicans, you have to be American enough for the Americans. Like that's why that scene hit me so hard as a kid because I felt that way growing up.
How do you? I mean, we kind of already mentioned it, but like, so for your music, I mean, okay. First of all, you have 3 albums,
Yeah,
and
and an EP.
yeah. And your latest album, Mid-Century Modern Romance, is available on. It'll be in the link.
internet.
On the
yes.
internet. It's on Spotify. Buy it.
Spotify, yeah, all those things, but physically, it's somewhere.
But you went. It's interesting because I thought that It Bothers Me was on that album because it's such you did like a whole like style shift for the new album, and so like I was like, oh, this like fits in with that, and then it took me like a few listens because I used to just like when I listened to it on Spotify, would just like play artist,
Right.
So
Yeah, so the timelines are syncing up a little bit there. I wrote like this like very Harry Nilsson kind of 60s Burt Bacharach kind of record, and then I started doing more soul stuff just to like mess around with it. Like I originally almost sold It Bothers Me to like a friend artist that it like ended up not going through because they went a different route. But I was like, okay, well if they're not gonna buy it, I'll use it. And then that kind of changed that. And then I wrote Call Me, this song called Rare Attractions, and a song called Emotion. I wrote those songs like back to back to back. And then I was like, oh, well, this just changed this whole record. So I threw away, but I just didn't release any of that Nielsen sounding stuff and just started writing a more soul. It hadn't committed to disco yet, but it was like kind of like in that world. I still had the old band members, all my original band members, and showing them that stuff. And yeah, it was definitely that little bridge. I kind of like, musicians, man, like I think of every record as like, yeah, one day someone's going to listen to all this and understand, and it doesn't work like that. People just listen to like whatever. But like to me, Rare Attractions is that middle record. Oh, this is what he was doing. Then he committed to, and he did this.
I mean,
It's the bridge. Yeah.
that's pretty sick. So what is like your influence? Like, are you working on new music?
Yeah, so I couldn't really, I was writing in the pandemic. I didn't write any lyrics in the pandemic just because, like, lyrics are such like, this is what happened to me and this is how I'm processing it and this is how I feel. But nothing happened to me and I didn't have to process anything. Like, I was on unemployment. I was doing podcasting. I was, like, teaching myself how to video edit. Like, that's not good songs. Fucking learning how to learn Premiere. Like, that's not a banger. And so it took me a little while to get the lyrics done. But, yeah, I got stuff. And then I started touring too much. And now I'm like, okay, now I have this downtime. And I was talking to him. We might come in here and start tracking. But yeah, it's time to start recording soon. Yeah.
I mean, that would be fucking sick.
Yeah.
It's
a great studio.
I was trying to think of a good like song about COVID, and then I thought of the theme song to That 70s Show. Hanging
Big Star,
out,
yeah.
I love Big Star.
The same
too.
old thing.
The same old thing. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
if
that
you
was-
come, I would definitely. I mean, first, our like True Sound Recording are like beasts. Like they're some of the best sound people working right now.
Totally.
And that would be sick if you were here. If you do your album here, I'll fucking do a BTS for EPK kit.
Let's
for
do
you.
it. Yeah.
That'd be
I'm
sick.
down. I and like, just hearing the Inner Wave and Chicano Batman, it's like, yeah, that's the world like I want to be in. Like, I love that crew and that energy from that community. And that's the stuff I love. Yeah.
When you were in LA, were you in
Highland Park. I was in Highland Park for 3 years. I was delivering pizzas in Boyle Heights at Purgatory.
Oh.
And yeah, it was cool. It was fun.
Were you friends with what is it, Criminal Hygiene?
Yeah.
Yep.
That they got me the job.
Oh shit. That's it.
They got me the job.
I met them because I had a friend who I was like, I used to be a fucking nice guy.
Right.
I had nice guy syndrome. And so I was one of those guys that was like, oh, I'm in the friend zone. So I had a friend who I hope she forgives me because I do consider her like a true friend now.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, I was like crushing hard on this person, and she knew it. She was like very clear, but it's always like a thing where it's like, she might change her mind. Like, you know?
Yeah. I played that game. Yeah. Too long.
But I was so fucking pathetic because she made it very clear, like, we're friends, and then also was like, she had like she kind of started talking to one of the guys from criminal hygiene, so I would like drive her to like go hang out with them and like
That's some real nice guy shit.
yeah it's
That's the nicest guy.
total nice guy shit. That was awful. Don't be that person.
Yeah, don't drive a girl somewhere to get dick from somebody else.
I had like an experience like that where I was like best friends with someone because I liked them, and then I was like, it didn't end in like a negative way, but it was like I need to take time to get over that shit because it's like I just want to be this person's friend. You know, that's my thing to get over. They don't owe me anything. And then like we stopped talking for like 6 months, and then we started hanging out again, and it's like I wouldn't be afraid to ask for shit anymore. Like I'd pay my half of stuff and be like, you know what I mean? Like if they wanted to hang, I'm like, well, you got to pick me up. Like I might pitch in for gas, but you got to pick me up. And that was like a really funny moment of like we became like bros.
Yeah,
And it was like,
it's like, oh, well, if we're friends, we're gonna go 50-50, you know?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm really good friends with the girl I was like obsessed with when we were 18. Like we went to prom together,
Right.
and now we're great friends.
Yeah. I mean, cherish friendship, appreciate friendships, fellas.
This is an anti-incel podcast.
I know, for real. Fuck that. Don't do it. You don't need to do it. Just
I always thought the story of the incel was funny because the initial start of the movement was started by a woman. It was
really?
like, doesn't it just suck when nobody wants to date you sometimes? And then guys are like, yeah, fucking women. And it's like, no, that's not what I meant. And then she like deleted her account
wasn't
and
that
like
the whole red?
disassociated from forever.
Oh,
Wasn't that the whole red pill? Like there's a documentary about that, isn't
Yeah.
there? Yeah. Oof. Okay, I want to pitch something
Yeah.
to you right now because first of all, I have to say this: when we left ECMO, you were one of the people that like reached out and was like said kind words and let me know if you need anything. So I first of all appreciate that.
of course.
But I was like, yeah, I want to reach out to you about some stuff. Never did, for other reasons because I've been saving it. It's because you're always on fucking tour.
I know, dude. I'm tired and
You're always
exhausted.
so
from touring.
fucking successful.
So I was with some friends at a Raising Cane's at like 1 a.m. Is it 24 hours? I don't know. It was super late. It was like the only thing open. We went to Raising Cane's. We were sitting down eating. You might have met one of them, Evan, he's like homies with the Voxes.
Oh yeah, I probably met them at
He
that
was the-
show.
yeah, he was the photographer.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
He's their producer. But anyway, we were hanging out. And I had just met him. And
Oh, I did meet him.
yeah.
He's funny.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. When they did the show, he was like, yeah, I'm gonna tell. He was telling me like, yeah, I'm gonna tell Dante like, oh, Dominic, he's gonna trip out that we're meeting and stuff, and he was like trying to make me jealous. I was like, fuck, dude, fuck you. I have to work. But what was funny, so I was with Evan and my homie Devante, because now we're friends, but that day I had just met him. And they're talking, and I was like kind of just sitting down eating chicken fingers, all quiet. And then in the middle, like I just looked, I was just like eating chicken fingers, and I looked up, and I was like, I need to do a music video for Dante Elephante where it's him making a pizza in slow motion. And that was the whole video concept.
All right.
So would you be down?
Yeah.
He sounds dope.
Like I said, my past experience with Purgatory Pizza,
Oh, shit.
I can handle
You
that.
know how to make a pizza. I
Kind
didn't
of.
even- I mean,
I
kind
was
of.
the delivery boy, but yeah. I knew how to steal a garlic knot. That's what I got really good at doing.
Oh, stealing garlic nuts?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, and then for months I was like hanging on to this idea of like, it's gonna be fucking Dante Elephante. It's gonna be in a kitchen wearing
Yeah.
a chef's outfit,
Right.
just making a pizza.
I'm down.
Let's do
I'm
it.
very down. That sounds great. I do need a music video.
There it is.
Find Somebody to Love never got a music video, and that song is a standout track. I didn't know it was going to be.
You were talking about that on your social media one
Yeah.
time about how like people were oh, it was because people were posting like their most listened to songs and stuff. And yeah, so that was just like a filler?
It was just the oldest song. Like, you know, when you work on like a group of songs, like sometimes the newer ones seem better just because they're fresher.
Right.
And like Find Somebody to Love was like maybe the second song written on the record. And I was like, man, it's all right. It's fine. And then like we put it out, and that's like the one that has the most plays. It's like playing at H&M like every day now.
H&M, did you get like do you get anything for that?
Spotify streams, but it counts as one stream. It doesn't count as like however many H&Ms there are.
They just share one account?
Yes. All the H. So it plays that, and Game of Love is also on there.
Dude,
On
I feel
that
like
playlist.
it's not like a radio thing. That's probably just like a clerk really is into this and is playing.
I was like, oh hell yeah, we're gonna get like 10,000 plays a day. Like, no, there's one playlist.
they're just all on one.
Yeah.
I feel like Chipotle is like that too, right? Don't they have like a
Master
a
playlist.
master playlist that all the stores? It's either that or they have like somebody can correct me, but they have like it's either something that plays at the same time in all the stores, or it's like they have like their Chipotle approved artists.
Right.
Like they
I want to be a Chipotle approved artist, man.
I feel like I could order. I could see myself ordering some sofritas to.
Dude, on the road, man, like that shit will save your life sometimes. Like, you don't realize how good avocado is in California until you're like, oh yeah, I'm in Chipotle. This is like a corporation. Like, and the avocado is nasty. It's just nasty.
Yeah.
I've been
You
to
miss
It'll
it.
get washed.
Yeah.
I've been to so many places where I'm like, how do you fuck up Mexican food?
Yeah.
And then you go to Minneapolis and it's like, oh, you've never met a Mexican person.
Yeah, I'm the first Mexican.
Did we do it right?
I'm the first Mexican. How do you like it? Like, really want your... Is it good? My friend in New York was like, took us to a Mexican place. He was like, tell me how you really feel, but be honest. I was like, dude, this is good. It's like, of course, it's like, it's in New York. They have chefs from everywhere, and
Right.
Mexicans live in New York
And they
too.
actually have like, there's like a Mexican neighborhood.
Totally. And he was like, you don't have to do that. I was like, dude, I like this. This is good. Yeah.
My brother moved to Portland. And so we were visiting one time. I used to do shows in Portland. Like I used to make it a point to like go for a week once a year to like
Stay with him.
Well, it was before he moved. So I had already been. And because the thing is like you've been to Portland.
Yeah.
The food throughout the city.
So good.
So good.
Yeah.
What do you think about? Oh wait, you don't. Yeah, do they have a vegan option?
Where?
Burgerville.
Oh, I've never been to Burgerville. I've
Yeah.
seen it though.
Dude, Burgerville way better than In-N-Out. Like
No.
yeah.
Shit.
I'm telling you, like
Dude,
that's where I would go up. I would go up and meet friends or like meet people and be like, "Can we go to Burgerville?" And they're like,
Yeah.
"Why?" I'm like, "You don't fucking get it, all right?
Yeah,
we don't have
totally.
this over there." But I was up there with a friend, Armando Torres. He's a comedian. He took me up there to like do shows with him, and we were like, we're on vacation. So we're not going to fucking get fast food. Like, we're not going to get any chain food. We're going to try.
Eat like the locals, yeah.
Yeah, eat like the locals. So all the food was fucking amazing. And I don't remember where we went. There's no good Mexican food.
Right.
And so there's one spot. If next time you go there, hit me up so I could tell you where to go. Oh, fuck. You're not going to be able to eat there. Never mind.
No, I can make it
Well,
work.
for your homies.
Yeah.
Do you cheat ever?
Yeah, especially on tour because it's impossible.
Oh, okay.
So I will eat dairy and stuff on tour if I have to.
So there's a place called Torteria y Tienda de Leones, and it's like going just like to a Mexican, like they make handmade tortillas, and it's like a they have a deli like if you were going to like Vallarta or something.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, the food there is so good. It's some of the best Mexican food I've ever had, like just in general.
Yeah.
And it's like nobody knows where it is. And I felt really bad because one time I went to go visit my brother and he's like trying to show me a good time. We're doing Isimo, so he knows like I'm all fucking Chicano'd out, like, you know, I got that Chicano spirit in me. So
right.
he was like, oh, I don't know the name of the restaurant, but he's like, there's this Mexican food. It's got really good reviews. Like, it's like authentic. We should go check it out. And we went, and the first thing that I noticed was that all the staff in the front of house was white. All the staff in the back of house was Latinos. And I just like kept getting like the wrong vibes throughout. And I was like trying my hardest to like not be upset. But I was like getting like frustrated at everything that I saw. Like the thing that kind of was it like tipped me over was like they were one of those places where it's like, oh, it's inspired by like hole in the wall Mexican restaurants.
Yeah.
So they had like wear and tear on the tables and all that stuff, which is like fine. But then I saw on the wall they had those tin aluminum siding, you know, the wavy one.
Yeah.
They had like a wall. First of all, there was a real concrete wall. They just put up aluminum siding like along the side just to have it, like to make this like a shed. And then on the aluminum siding, there was a straight up like glass window with the little windowsill with like cactuses on there. The window was up against the wall. So it's like, I was like, who the fuck is that for? Like, it's a wall. Like, I was like, oh, they're just throwing shit for anybody. Yeah. So I was so fucking mad at that. And then the food finally came and I ordered carnitas and I'm like, this is sweet.
Oh.
I was like, this is like sugary. I was like, this isn't. I felt so bad because my brother, like, he was, you know, he's trying to show me a good time. And like, he could see that I was not having a good time. And after that, I realized like, you gotta fucking calm down, Dominic. Yeah. Like you're like, you don't have to get mad at fucking every injustice. Like fucking take a chill pill, dog. I felt so bad because he was like, yeah, man, I'm sorry. Like I was like, I ended up being upset, like so like fucking like pen up for social justice that I hurt my brother. Like, I'm like, you gotta fucking chill, dude.
Oh man. Yeah. No, Portland, I don't think I've ever really had the I eat at the same place in Portland every time. It's called Fried Egg. I'm in love. I fucking love that place. And I eat there every time to the point like my friends are like, you need to go somewhere else, dude. Like you can't just keep going there. I'm like, but it has everything. But I love that. But really, I think some of the best Mexican food I had is in Chicago. Like you don't realize how many it looks like LA. It's amazing. I have family who like when they left Michoacan went to Chicago or they went to Santa Barbara. It was like one or the other two.
Right.
And there's a lot of that, and it's awesome. I love Chicago. I think Chicago has great Mexican food.
Supposedly Chicago has like the best carnitas in the country. Like they have like a historical like family business that's like their specialty is carnitas.
That's awesome. I used to love carnitas when I ate meat.
I was just picturing like a 6th generation Mexican, like those bears.
Those bears. When did you go vegan?
I haven't eaten. I went vegetarian when I was like 19.
Okay.
I had like I was hanging out with some weird people and like I was around drugs all the time. I wasn't doing drugs, but I was just around it all the time and got myself into some weird situations. And I felt like taking away the meat was like a little bit of control because my life felt so out of control. And it was one way for me to like, yeah, like I said, have some control. And then the vegan thing, I was like, I wonder, can I do it? And I was doing it in LA and I was like really strict for like 3 years where I basically changed like my, like, you know, I can't really eat cheese and all that stuff anymore. But I was living in LA and I was able to do it super easy. I was working at the pizza place.
Right.
And then I was working at Burger Lords for a little while. And yeah, it was just a lot easier over there than in Santa Barbara. There's like we now have one place called Rascals, and that's my fucking spot. Shout out to Rascals.
Hell
it's
yeah.
This dude named Delan, and he just makes great Mexican food that's vegan. Yeah.
There's
if you're ever in like San Gabriel Valley, Baldwin Park, Garduno's makes vegan food.
Ooh, that sounds good.
It's like it's like a burrito place, but so they make everything that like a How would you describe that kind of restaurant?
It's Mexican food.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
I
it's
don't know. It's literally like a corner restaurant. Like,
It's literally called Garduno's Burrito King. Like,
yeah,
What would you call that? A burrito king.
but it's like a taco stand. Like
Cool.
you go,
Yeah.
it's like a mainstay in Baldwin Park. Like it's one of our restaurants, and then they had
10 years ago.
a employee that was vegan. So then the owner was like, "Oh, well, I want my employees to be able to eat the food that they make." So then they just added a vegan menu.
That's awesome.
And and now that's like part of his like. They've grown so much just from like having vegan options.
yeah. I forgot who shouted them out, but someone like popular.
I think it was Jonathan Gold.
I think so. But yeah, they've been getting like they have a
Is that his
following
name?
now. It's like a
I don't know.
Do you know the food critic?
No.
Damn.
Maybe if I
I think,
saw
I
his
think that's I think it's that guy, the guy that passed away.
It's because I'm thinking of Johnny Gold, who's a old like open mic comedian.
Jonathan Gold, American food critic.
There you go.
Jonathan
Yeah, he
Gold.
passed away. He was on
He's older,
or
man.
he was referenced
Older
in
gentleman.
the Chef Show.
Right.
The
right.
bear?
What?
The bear
No.
or which chef? Show?
No, the Chef Show on Netflix. That's what it's called.
Got
The
it.
show based off of the movie Chef.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got
yeah.
it.
Fuck that movie.
You didn't like Chef?
He doesn't like that there's no conflict.
There's no conflict.
Oh yeah, it's all
Everything
vibes.
just works out for the
It's
white
just a
man.
happy
Vibes.
story about
Yeah.
a man reuniting with his son. Fuck that movie.
Dude, he was a terrible dad.
And he got better.
No, he didn't.
He got better.
He didn't. I mean, I guess that's good for the son for being. Also, this son was fucking like that. His son was not Latino enough for me. Like, if Sofia Vergara is his
recasting.
mom,
Yeah.
that was bad casting.
I mean, his dad's John Favreau.
Dude, I fucking pissed off people on TikTok
What'd you
by
say?
saying fuck fuck Chef.
Yeah, people love that movie. I love that
love-
movie.
Because it's like it's also like a passion project of his. Like he saved money. He didn't. I don't think that he had zero budget, but it was a passion project of his. He made it happen. Like the reason there's so many people from Marvel on it is he shot it in between the Iron Man movies.
Well, like, but people just love John Favreau. Like, they love
do.
Marvel, so they were like, put some respect on his name. I'm
I
like,
like his stuff.
I'm sure he's fine. He's a good filmmaker. Like,
Yeah, Swingers.
yeah, Swingers.
I watch that like maybe once every 6 months.
What's the one where he gets thrown up on? I Love You, Man.
Oh yeah,
is
that
in
one's
that one?
great too.
Forget about that.
I
Yeah.
love that movie.
But it's just
Wait,
like,
John Favreau's sick. Dude, you're an asshole. the fuck? He's like listing the credits. I'm like, yeah, that movie's dope. That movie's dope. That movie's dope. And you're just like,
What
fuck.
the fuck is your problem?
Chef is not a good movie. And also maybe it's because I watched it so much later than like the Twitter boom. But the way that like Twitter plays a role in the movie, I'm like,
yeah.
this is fucking corny as
They
hell.
always do that.
That
They-
was the other thing though, is he made
I was
it.
gonna say that. Oh well, go ahead. I'm sorry to step on your line.
Oh, no, I was just like, he made it like way earlier than it was released because again, it was a passion project. So it came out like after Twitter was blowing up, but he didn't get to release it at that time. He waited like 5 years.
what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that he made the movie. It's a metaphor for him working on Marvel movies.
That was the thing. No, that was the thing. People, trust me, I know.
You read the comments?
I read the comments. All right.
Making sandwiches he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, at least he fucking made Cuban sandwiches in a movie and didn't steal from real Cubans in filmmaking, I guess.
Speaking of Cubans and weird casting, what do you think of James Franco being casted for Fidel?
Annoying.
Annoying.
Oh. It's because he's Irish. Like, oh, yeah, because that's where he lived his life and is famous for, is ruling all of Ireland. Fucking.
Well, it's like they expect.
That's the island you associate with his name.
It's the thing is that like, yeah, white people live in Cuba, like, and I mean, I don't know. I guess because I've only seen Fidel like later when he
Right.
had like the full regalia and the beard
Right.
and stuff, and I'm like, that fool does not look Irish.
Yeah.
Like, it's a thing. Whatever John Leguizamo's opinion is on it, I agree with.
That's
like it's just a thing. It's like you could have cast a Latino,
Right.
You know, maybe.
Pedro Pascal looks just like him.
totally.
Yeah, Pedro Pascal could have played him. People would have complained that like Pedro Pascal's not Cuban, but
Neither is James Franco.
neither is James Franco. What I mean is like, oh, like we're interchangeable. Like people get upset about like,
Right,
oh,
that's
we're not like just
Yeah.
interchangeable. Like it's different people, different culture, different acts. But it's like, it's also the whole conversation. And I don't know if we want to get into this, but I saw like there's a whole uproar too about like people from Cuba that are like Cuban Americans being like, why are we making like a
movie about Fidel.
like that we shouldn't be glorifying a dictator and all that stuff.
Well, I've heard. I wish I remember his name. A comedian was talking to me about it because he talked about it in his podcast, and he's Cuban, but he's like third generation American.
Greg?
I think so. But so it's like a mixed thing because some people were in favor of Castro and some people were against Castro. So it's like even here amongst his family, it's like a mixed thing. I think either way, Vin Diesel was a dick for blowing up that car.
You know this story?
No.
So in Fast and Furious, like the first
7?
one with Charlize Theron, there's this scene where Vin Diesel is in a street race.
Charlize Theron's in the first Fast and the Furious?
No. She's in like 3 of them.
In the first one that she was in.
I think it's like
Very different.
I think it's like the 7th one.
Okay.
But there's a scene where they're street racing in Cuba, and while filming in location, Vin Diesel came across a car. Because that's like the thing is like there's not a lot of trade or import with Cuba, so a lot of families held on to their original cars, and that became like the wealth that you passed on. So he came across this car that he really liked, and he bought it from the family, and they were like super excited. And the thing is, like, he did not pay what it was worth. He paid like an eighth what it was worth.
I feel like he paid more than it was worth.
I think he paid more than they were expecting, but when you look at the car, it's like he did not pay him enough, especially for what happens next. He in the scene, he's given a shitty like rundown old car, and in the race, the car starts falling apart. And at the end of that scene, he jumps out of the car is thrown into the ocean, and it explodes. He did all of those things to the actual car.
Oh,
he did
So
not
a
give
real
them time.
classic
Wow.
car.
Yeah, he did not give them time to build like
stunt,
replicas.
yeah.
It was the real car. And
Oh, no.
the family, as a thank you for selling the car, were allowed to be extras in that scene. So they watched their
my
family car
God.
blow up in front of them. It
That's
was
terrible. That's
awful.
cancelable.
Yeah.
That's a cancelable offense. One thing I will say about Fast and Furious is that Paul Walker did live in Santa Barbara. R.I.P. to Paul Walker, the king. And yeah, that was a devastating day in SB, man. Like,
Really?
oh yeah, my girlfriend at the time, her mother was devastated. We like drove to his house, and I met Paul Walker once in Santa Barbara. I used to sit in the parking lots and take tickets, and he was coming out of the lot, and he was like, gave me some weird change. I was like, hey man, I don't really have like 10 cents. Like we only deal with quarters. I don't really have 10 cents. He's like, don't worry about it, boss. And he had like a big old like truck.
What a cool dude.
And that's my Paul Walker story. I was like, hell yeah, I am a boss. Thank you, Paul.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I never met Paul Walker.
What? Oh,
Sad to
guy.
say.
He was a good guy.
Yeah. I mean, LA felt it. The thing is with any of that stuff, I mean, I understand that the Fast and Furious franchise is like a huge, like, it's like Marvel, it's like the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
But I always get into this thing where it's like when I lose interest in something, it's
over.
it's over. Like, well, like, why is anybody not? It's weird. Like, I used to be a big fan of the White Stripes, and then after Icky Thump came out, I was like, meh.
Yeah, I didn't
I was
like
like,
that song either.
Yeah.
That's why I dropped out too. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, they're gonna go away like this, like they're on their way out, and then fucking release another album, and then he goes on to be a solo artist, and people are like, Jack White's one of the greatest musicians of all time. That happened with the Gorillaz. That happened with fucking the Strokes, and it happened with Fast and Furious.
I just thought it was cool that he made an album with Jack Black and called it Gray. It's a real story.
Shout out.
Man, I love Jack Black. Like I realized the parallels of like every girl I've ever dated and them having a Jack Black like crush. Like every girl I've ever dated was like, I grew up loving Jack Black. And I was like, oh, okay. And you look like him. I was like, oh, fuck. I see what we're doing here.
Like automatic expectation. Like you see it, right?
Yeah, like you should get it for like School of Rock. I'm like, yeah, I know. I saw the movie.
Should have bought a pair of white pants.
When you
Yeah,
when you
so-
go down, you're just like rim bim 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 bim.
We will rock today. I do appreciate you guys having me on. I don't have a lot to promote. I do have some shows coming up. I'm playing in LA. I'm doing like a industry thing in LA that is open to the public. It's in Hollywood, school night. That's on Halloween. I'm playing a Halloween show in LA. And then I'm playing in San Luis Obispo on the 29th of October. And then, yeah, next year. I guess I can't announce those yet, but next year.
Oh yeah, keep an eye out. We're gonna post all your links. Listen to Dante Elephante, buy the music, buy the album. Thank you so much for being here.
Hell yeah.
Thanks for making the drive out and for hanging out with us the whole day.
Awesome. This is fun.
Yeah, pleasure. I'll do Dante Elephante podcast once you get that going.
It's coming back.
Hell
Definitely
yeah.
coming back, yeah.
Check out the podcast. Like it's you have like really cool musicians on and
I had one comedian on who I blew it. But right? It was through Zoom. I just thought it was super awkward, but she was really cool about it. Cut that. No.
Okay, everybody straight face.
Straight face.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, this is I had such a good time. I've been loving your guys' podcast for a while, and I'm glad I'm on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so much fun. You were
You were here for the last episode.
You were here for the
I was here for the last episode. Stay tuned next
Hell yeah.
Tuesday.
So as we say in un poquito,
Don't fly.